All right, everyone, I have officially watched Madame Web 7 times, and I'm going to tell you how I managed to do that and how bad the movie really is right after a word from our sponsors. Whatnot.
Hey everyone, Adverse Benny here, and I'm standing in the back room of the office where all of my comic book collections and collectibles are currently located. Now, I've been looking to basically offload a lot of this for many years, and I'm now teamed up with Whatnot to use their app to sell this stuff to you guys. And I'm gonna pretty much put everything up as dollar bids, so it starts at $1, and you can just maybe get some really good stuff for $1, and we're gonna be doing a bunch of free giveaways. And all you need to do to be a part of that is download the Whatnot app and then look for the name Comicstorian and bookmark our stream next Thursday, which is February 29th at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 p.m. my time, and that's 3 p.m. PST. We're going to be doing a ton of giveaways and a ton of auctions, and basically this app is just a way for you to connect with people who could do collectible collecting like myself. Collectible collecting's a thing, and yeah. I just need to kind of get rid of some of this stuff. I don't have any room left and I want to get more. That's kind of what it boils down to. So join me next Thursday, February 29th at 6 p.m. Eastern when we do our dollar bids and our giveaways.
Man, what a Whatnot ad. It's also brought to you by This Hot Sauce Is, the hot sauce that I have created with my friends, and you can buy it in the link right down below. It's a whiskey-infused Hatch and jalapeno sauce. Very mild spice. There is no alcohol content in it, and it works for almost everything, from eggs to pulled pork. You can put it on your hot dogs. You can put it on your burger. I put it on just about everything. Now, let's talk about Madame Web and how I watched it 7 times. So, I refused to go see Madame Web. Why? Because it looks terrible. Well, looked terrible. And I made a comment on my podcast channel, absolutely, link down below, that I refuse to pay to go see Madame Web. And I am 100% against illicit pirating of content. We need to support the content that we want to see be made. But see, that is my wording right there. We need to support the content that we want to see be made. I do not want to see Madame Web be made. So what I found was a Twitch link that had it on loop. And I watched a bootleg version of Madame Web on the side, rolling all by itself while I played many games and did many other things. So I watched Madame Web 7 times. Just left it on. Oh my God, does it get worse with each sequential viewing of that movie? So let me tell you the plot to Madame Web, because I don't think anyone is in here going, Benny, give me your spoiler-free opinions, because I just did. So Madame Web starts in a hot and steamy 1973's Peru. We see Cassie's mother on a mission to find magical spiders, which, as we'll discover later in the plot, she's doing to try and cure her daughter of a disease. But we discover that she is in 1973 in Peru. Hot, steamy, very pregnant. And there's an Ezekiel Sims character there. He is the bodyguard. Cassie's mother discovers the magical spider, the one that will grant everyone powers. And Ezekiel Sims, he wants that magical spider. He shoots Cassie's mother in the stomach, nearly hitting the unborn child. But don't worry. Weird, bizarre spider creature people, an indigenous tribe, exists in 1973's Peru. They jump out of the trees, pick up the injured Cassie's mother, and carry her off to their local, super mystical, awesome pool of water, where they lower her down with her new spider potential powers, and they grant abilities to save Cassie, the baby. Jump to 2003. We cut to 2003. Cassie is now an EMT with an incessant need to help everybody. That's just how she is. Working with her partner, Benjamin Ben Parker. As a guy whose full name is Benny, and no one really even calls me Ben, I don't really understand why Ben is quoted as being his nickname, but whatever. The two of them are going off on their missions, and they end up getting into a car wreck in the middle of their mission because she was trying to save people. By the way, they also show you that she really knows how to do CPR. It's going to be important. It's 2003. Pepsi Cola is everywhere, and so is CPR. It's apparently Cassie's specialty. She is really good at CPR. I'll explain why that's important later. Anyway, she gets into a car wreck, which has her floating through the water, and we see tons of webbing everywhere, and we discover that she has now been granted powers because she almost died Is that linked to the indigenous tribe and the weird water that her mom did? Most likely. Anyway, she's brought back to life by Ben Parker and then proceeds to move forward. That's when we discover Ezekiel Sims, the man that was a bodyguard to Cassie's mother. That man is now a multi-billionaire, and he has a super suit, and he has many powers just like Spider-Man. And he is now getting visions that he's going to die at the hands of 3 spider women at an undisclosed period of time, sometime in the future. We don't know when. And he needs to hunt down the teenagers that are going to become the Spider Women to kill them. Is he a bad guy? We don't actually know. He just wants to kill the women. So it's safe to assume he is a bad guy, but he doesn't have any kind of an evil plot. There's no rhyme or reason to what he's doing. We don't understand what his ultimate goal is. We don't know how he got rich. We don't know where the suit came from. He's just that now. Okay, moving forward. We cut back to Cassie. She begins to have weird deja vu moments. She sees things happen, and then they happen. But she doesn't know that she's predicting the future yet. We have to go through the same sequence multiple times before she can figure out that she is seeing the future because she hasn't done it yet. It even has an really awkward moment where she goes to a baby shower for what I'm assuming is going to be Peter Parker, but they never name him that as far as I caught it. It was hard to tell because I was watching a version which had a lot of echo on certain things. So if I missed the line, but she goes to the baby shower and ruins the baby shower because she can see into the future and questions. It's weird. It's very awkward, very cringe. Why is it in the movie? You could have easily made it a fun party. I also made me realize whenever you have a bad movie like this and they have awkward dialogue at something like a baby shower, this baby shower had like 20 people there. There's 20 people at this party, and only Cassie and Mary Parker are talking. That's it. Why? No one else is talking. No one else is celebrating. No one knows what's going on. Anyway, Cassie eventually puts it together that she can tell the future. This is her ability. She gets onto a subway conveniently, and on that subway, conveniently, all 3 Spider Women arrive. And conveniently, she gets a future prediction that Ezekiel Sims is going to show up and kill all the women. Okay, so she looks like a crazy person on the train, rounds up all 3 girls, brings them out of the train. The Sydney Sweeney's character, which I don't remember the name, is it Anya? No, it's Julia. Julia calls out that they're being kidnapped. Now they got the cops on her, but everyone misses the guy crawling on the ceiling because Ezekiel Sims throws the suit on like he's freaking Tony Stark, where it's just underneath and it just appears on him, and then he can just go. He's just doing it. So she kidnaps them all, technically, puts them in a cab, tries to explain everything to them. It's the most wooden acting I've ever seen, these explanations and everything going on. And then she drives the kids into the woods and leaves them. Just leaves them. You'll be safe here. That's what she tells them. And she leaves. So anyway, Cassie leaving the kids in the woods and tells them to be safe and be here and hide in the woods. No food, no phone, no nothing. Just drops them in the woods, drives back home to get her mom's notes to figure out what is going on because she has decided that this has to be somehow connected to everything that happened with her mother. It gets weirder. So we have a situation now where it's mildly interesting. I'm not going to lie. Ezekiel Sims is now chasing down everyone. The girls obviously ignore Cassie. They walk to a diner. They start dancing on the table. This draws out Ezekiel Sims. He shows up. He starts trying to kill them. It's a suspenseful moment where he's doing some really cool stuff. But again, we get to see Cassie die and then come back because she saw the future. So now we get to see her avoid the death. What it honestly started reminding me of was a CW version of the Final Destination franchise. If you haven't seen the Final Destination movies, why? They're awesome. Go watch them. There's so many of those movies. But this just seems like it should have been in that because the way she keeps seeing people die and then she can prevent it from happening. Okay, cool. So they eventually fight against Ezekiel. She drives all the girls over to Mary's place to drop the girls off to be safe. And then while Ezekiel Sims is chasing them, decides she has to go to Peru. Because why not? Let's go to the source of everything. Let's go to the beginning of it all. We're going to go to Peru. And here's what I loved about that. The movie treats the Peru jaunt like she disappeared for a day. Like she drove from like Brooklyn to, Queens and just hung out. She just goes to Peru and she goes into the forest where she meets up with the tribe that saved her life as a baby and they explain everything. Ezekiel Sims has all the powers, but she also has powers, but not his powers, but different powers. The ability to see the future. He doesn't really have that. He's not really tapped into that. You have this ability. Also, you might have the ability to like be in multiple places at the same time. We're just going to lightly imply that so it doesn't seem as out of place at the ending, but it's very out of place no matter how they put it. Anyway, she comes back. Oh, it's also when she discovered her mom was trying to save her from a hereditary disease. That was the big reveal. Oh, my mom didn't abandon me for the spiders. She was trying to save me. That explains everything. I'm okay with it all now. Mary, her water breaks, so they decide that they are now going to the hospital, which somehow, I don't remember how, Ezekiel Sims has like an assistant that's basically Oracle from Batman. She's just a woman with glasses who has a computer in front of her and the ability to tap into like the NSA and stuff. And it's like, Ezekiel, I found them. They're there. And he's like, cool. I will go get to my spider suit and fight them. So anyway, they're on their way back. Cassie shows up, big fight, blah, blah, blah. We got to save the unborn Peter Parker. I feel like this segment of the movie was a major plot point of that other version of the movie that we heard about, where the whole movie was about protecting Peter Parker. Like this whole sequence, how they got there and got involved here seems like it was intended for that movie, not for this movie. Because what I haven't told you, and I'm going to tell you more towards the ending, but one, the girls don't have powers. The girls haven't done anything. They have no suits. They're literally three damsels in distress that Cassie is trying to save. There are no fight sequences. There are no action set pieces. Nothing has happened other than a couple of explosions and a man crawling on a wall. This is it. Like, Cassie's powers, she tried to climb a wall at one point and can make webbing appear everywhere, and magically has a great marketing campaign with Pepsi because it shows up everywhere. Anyway, our crappy Final Destination movie leads to them getting Ezekiel to follow them to the Pepsi Cola sign, a giant Pepsi Cola sign, where they have a big fight, and all three of the girls who didn't do anything are like, well, hold on. Before this happens, there is a scene that stood out to me. The Pepsi Cola sign is exploding, and a piece of metal hits the ground. And now Cassie's ability to see in the future has become so good that she grabs the metal and, like she's freaking Captain America, starts to block fireworks and stuff going off from hitting them. And it's the most like crappiest looking sheet of metal I've ever seen. It looks like something out of a video game. Like, you ever play a video game and there's just that one convenient piece of metal off to the side? And it's just like, what is this for? Oh, block shit. That's exactly what it was. That's all it was. So anyway, they end up going over to this. The whole thing's exploding. The three girls are separated. And Ezekiel's like, you can't save all three of them. Who are you going to save? And then Cassie, based off one line from the indigenous tribe when she was in Peru, now has the ability to create three of herself and save all of them. And then she gets the sign to fall on Ezekiel Sims, and he dies. There's no real fight, no kung fu, no action outside of a couple of choreographed deaths. And then Cassie falls off the sign, which hit her weirdly. We're assuming called her paralysis. But as she's falling through the water, a stray firework just goes bonk right in the eyes. Boom, loses her eyesight. And then she's pulled out of the water. And remember when I said about CPR? CPR. So in a sub scene, when the girls and Cassie were there, Cassie was showing them how to do CPR. It is like the most overly sexual CPR you'll ever see. They're like, CPR. CPR. Like, seriously, I'm not even joking. You'll see it if you ever see this movie. So at the end of the movie now, it's like, CPR, save Cassie, CPR. And they save Cassie, who now is blind and she's in a wheelchair, but she can still see into the future, and she knows they're going to become Spider Women, and they're going to say she's going to train them. And then we see the suits in the future. So, okay, first off, May Parker, yeah, she's lightly implied, never even said by name. The Spider-Man lore completely destroyed by doing this. It doesn't apply. You can't do this. 3, the dialogue is terrible in this movie. Really feels like everyone felt like they were phoning it in. Everyone's like, it feels like CW dialogue. I felt CW dialogue was better. Everyone felt like they just didn't want to be there. And if you've heard the rumors that they all thought they were in an MCU movie, apparently, I can see why they were all like, wait, I'm in a freaking Sonyverse movie? What's Sonyverse? You have to explain that to them. Then they're like, oh, no, oh, crap, oh, you know, like Adam Scott, there's no way Adam Scott agreed to this. He must have got a hell of a payday to be in this movie, because like that man could get like a really good role in the MCU. The suits, I called this on my podcast channel. Absolutely. The suits are literally in the fast forward sequence. That is it. And they didn't even do them right. You know that infamous scene that we've all seen in the trailers where they're like, look at Julia upside down. They spun the camera. The upside down scene, they spun the camera. The only reason I know she's upside down is I saw the other stuff. So why even film her upside down if you're going to flip it over? What was the point of that? We have the 3 suits that just looked, the only one that looked good was Julia's. And even that was probably because they made the whole screen fuzzy. It looked like somebody smeared Vaseline on the visions. So the future vision of the 3 of them in a suit just looked like somebody smeared Vaseline on the screen. It was terrible. And then that same scene gets played 3 times in the movie. 3 times they play that one flash forward scene. That's why my theory was in the trailers, we were only seeing one scene of them all in the suits. It's because it's the only scene in the movie. The overall plot makes no sense. If you don't know who Madam Web is, she's someone in the middle of like her role at the very end of the movie, that's actually her. But she's also like 60. So I don't even know why they were like, let's get Dakota Johnson to do this whole thing. It just doesn't make any sense at all. The story is nonsensical. It's all over the place. They had to pull out everything that directly implied Spider-Man or Peter Parker, but they constantly do things that imply Spider-Man or Peter Parker without directly referencing him. The infamous line that they butchered from Spider-Man that I tweeted out and had fun with, when you take on responsibility, great power will come. What? How do you butcher that line? Do they have a copyright on with great power must also come great responsibility? Do they have a copyright on that or something? Because you know what? If they do, then just use the other version, with great power comes responsibility, or whatever the other. You could have done any number of versions of that, because there are countless versions of that. You didn't have to make up a terrible version of that. That was not fun. That was not good. Why would you do that? Why would you make me hate everything about that? It's just such a bad movie. It's so terrible. But here's the thing. Everyone's acting like it's the worst movie to ever exist, and it's not. I've seen much worse movies than this. That's the biggest crime when it comes to Madam Web. It's just throw it on in the background and you won't even know what the hell's happening half the time. This really brings me to the question of, why is Sony doing this? Like, I don't understand Sony's mindset when it comes to this. No one is asking for this. No one wants this. No one wanted Morbius. No one wants Kraven. And no one wants Madam Web without Spider-Man. You barely made Venom work. You made Venom work, but you barely made it work, Sony. And you know why it worked? Not because you're some genius who has access to the Spider-Man lore and characters. It's because people like Venom. Venom has a fan base. You know who doesn't have a fan base? Morbius, Madam Web. Julia Carpenter does. What they named her something else than this, but Julia does. Do a movie about her. Do a Spider-Woman movie. You made the suits. You cast the characters. Give me a movie with Sweeney's. What's her name? Not Sweeney Todd. That's the role that oh geez, my brain's going all. My brain's cooked. My brain's cooked. I can't even think. That's how mad you made me, Sony. Who's this for? Why does this exist? And the worst part is you literally have it. You have Maddie, you have Anya, you have Julia. Do a Spider-Woman movie. No one wanted your half-assed attempt at a Final Destination movie with 0 links to Spider-Man. Sydney Sweeney, thank you. The problem is I love Sydney Sweeney. I love her in the movie she's in. I loved her in Euphoria. I want to clarify that. But for some reason, whenever I want to go say Sydney Sweeney, my brain goes Sweeney Todd, and I have 0 idea why. Okay, I don't know. So I'm just picturing here, like, oh yeah, that's the movie with Dakota Johnson and Sweeney Todd. No, that's not right. But that's what I don't get. You cast actual good actresses, at least passable actresses. Okay, I mean, we've only seen Sydney Sweeney in so many things, and I'm not sure about the other 2 women. I don't know what else they're in, and they don't do anything in the movie. But why don't you just make a Spider-Woman movie? Just make that. Make the live-action Miles movie. Sony, if you're going to do this, stop taking a pot shot with Morbius, Madam Web, and Kraven. Like, I feel like this is just one big acid trip for Sony. We got Spider-Man. Let's go down the roster. You know what'd be funny? Why don't we make a Sandman movie? Let's see how many people go see a Sandman movie. Oh, and cool. And then we'll do Stiltman. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. We can't do Stiltman. That's actually a Daredevil character. Who cares? We're Sony. It makes no sense. I don't understand. There are characters in this roster they can make work. They did it with Venom. Why does this Madam Web movie even exist? It's terrible. It's horrible. It doesn't link into anything. The dialogue is atrocious. The cinematography doesn't make sense for what they're doing. There's so many jump cuts. There's so many implications of webbing going over the screen. They jump forward in time to then psych you out, like when they killed Cassie in the middle of the diner. It's like, did they kill Cassie? Oh, no, we didn't. That was a future thing. And I'm like, was I supposed to be surprised? Your whole movie is Final Destination, where we see how they're going to die first. You keep trying to jump me with it. That's not working. But that's it. That's my opinion on Madam Web. Maybe I'll make a whole video just going through the whole Sonyverse after Craven comes out, and we'll just see, what is this for? Wait, who could like this? But I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe here at Comicstorian. I'll be coming out with more videos as usual. And if you actually liked Madam Web, let me know down below, because I'd like to seek you some help. I want to bring you to a place where we can like get people to talk to you and figure out what exactly is going on over here, okay? See you later.